Chapter 1. The Shattering of Illusions. That fateful Tuesday, I returned the engagement ring. She was with her new man, basking in a moment she couldn't know I'd just exposed her multi-million-dollar corporate espionage scheme. She thought I was merely a heartbroken fiancé, a man defeated. She had no idea I was about to dismantle her entire world. The look on her face when her powerful father uttered my name across that boardroom table was priceless. This is the story of how I turned betrayal into the best decision of my life. My name is Jason Hartley, and I'm 37 years old. Until recently, I was engaged to the woman I believed was my future. For 10 years, I'd forged my reputation as a leading financial analyst at Mercer Capital, navigating fortunes worth millions with precision and meticulous care daily. Funny how those skills proved utterly useless in my personal life. That Tuesday began ordinarily enough. I finished my 5-mile pre-dawn run, showered, and kissed Brooke goodbye. I remember thinking how peaceful she looked, her dark hair splayed across the pillow like a painting. "Jason," my boss called from his office doorway. "Got a minute?" Richard Everett was like a retired linebacker with a bone-crushing handshake. "The Westlake account is yours," he said, sliding a folder across his mahogany desk. "Presentation for the board on Friday. Make it brilliant." I nodded firmly. "It'll be flawless, sir." "One more thing." Richard leaned forward. "Walter Winters called, wants to discuss investment options. Specifically asked for you." My pulse quickened. Walter Winters, Brooke's father and a real estate titan, had always regarded me with a skeptical eye, perpetually weighing my worthiness of his daughter. "His daughter speaks very highly of your financial expertise," Richard added, raising an eyebrow. "I'll schedule a meeting immediately," I replied, straightening my posture. Later, I left work early to surprise Brooke with her favorite vintage wine and the expensive imported cheeses she adored. A small box containing diamond earrings, a compliment to her engagement ring, sat in my pocket, early anniversary gifts. Our colonial-style home was dark when I arrived. No lights, no Brooke, no welcoming presence. The silence felt wrong, heavy, and significant. In the kitchen, I found a hastily scribbled note. "Meeting Haley for drinks. Don't wait up. B." Haley was her sister, but they weren't close. Something didn't add up. I noticed Brooke's laptop open on the counter, unusual for someone so obsessive about privacy. I hesitated for a full minute before peering closer. Her email was open, displaying a correspondence with a Derek, a colleague from a conference she'd attended. "Can't wait for tonight, same hotel. I've missed your touch." I froze. My military training kicked in. Remain calm, assess. My eyes snagged on a bank statement. A transfer of $5,000 from our joint account to a D. Caldwell yesterday. My phone rang. Walter Winters' name flashed on the screen. "Jason," his gruff voice resonated. "Those confidential investment documents in your home office. Brooke took them. I need them back immediately. They're worth millions to the right people." The floor seemed to drop from beneath me as everything clicked into place in the most horrific way. I stood in our kitchen staring at the phone, Walter Winters' voice still echoing in my ears. My military training surfaced again. Assess the situation, formulate a plan, act with precision. "I'll take care of it immediately, sir," I responded, my voice betraying none of the tempest raging within. "You'd better, Hartley." Walter's voice was cold steel. "Those documents contain proprietary takeover plans. In the wrong hands, they're worth millions." I ended the call and walked directly to my home office. The safe behind the bookshelf was ajar, something I never did. The folder marked Westlake Acquisition was gone, and with it a USB drive holding my presentation backups. Rage surged, but I controlled it. Emotion clouds judgment. I needed clarity like never before. I accessed our joint bank account from my secured laptop. 5 separate transfers to D. Caldwell over the past month, totaling $27,000, nearly our entire wedding fund. My jaw clenched so hard my teeth ached. I reached for my phone and paused. No emotional confrontation. That's what she'd expect. Anger, accusations, pleas for explanation. Not this time. Instead, I called my brother, Greg, a former Marine like myself. I need a favor, I said when he answered. Name it, Greg instantly replied. Brothers forged in combat require no explanations. Text me if you see Brooke's car at the Grand Hotel downtown. I think she's there. Copy that. Everything all right? No, but it will be. Explain later. Next, I called my bank and flagged our joint accounts. The banker asked if it was fraud. Yes, I replied. Exactly. I walked into our bedroom and opened the closet safe where the 3-carat engagement ring I planned to upgrade for our anniversary was kept. The velvet box felt heavy in my palm. I slipped it into my jacket pocket and changed into a crisp black shirt and slacks. My phone vibrated. A text from Greg. Black BMW at the Grand Hotel, confirmed by valet. My pulse remained steady as I packed a duffel bag with essentials. Not a flight, but a regroup. A strategic retreat before the counterattack. As I headed for the door, my phone rang again. Brooke. I ignored the call, letting her leave a voicemail. Her message came seconds later. Hey honey, running late with Haley, don't wait up, love you. The casual lie hardened something inside me. I texted Greg. Need one more favor. What room number? 10 minutes later, he replied. Room 840, registered to Derek Caldwell. They just ordered champagne. I drove downtown, parking a block from the hotel. The engagement ring in my pocket felt like a grenade with the pin pulled. It was no longer a symbol of love. Now it was a statement. The Grand Hotel lobby was all marble and crystal, a place where wealth whispered rather than screamed. I approached the concierge desk with military bearing, sliding a $100 bill across the counter. I'd like to surprise my fiancée, I said. My smile didn't reach my eyes. She's having drinks with her business associate in room 840. Could you send this up with a special message? The young concierge looked at the small velvet box and smiled. Certainly, sir. What message should I include? Just write, I know. Goodbye. I didn't wait in the lobby. I wasn't interested in watching the drama unfold from afar. Instead, I took a seat at the hotel bar with a perfect view of the elevators. I ordered a whiskey, neat, and didn't touch it. 20 minutes later, my phone vibrated with a message from the concierge. Package delivered, sir. Then chaos erupted. The elevator doors opened and Brooke burst out, still buttoning her dress, mascara streaking her flushed cheeks. Behind her, a tall man in a rumpled suit, Derek Caldwell, I presumed. He grabbed her arm. Brooke, calm down, he said, loud enough for others to hear. It's probably just a misunderstanding. She spun on him. A misunderstanding? He knows everything. And then she saw me, sitting calmly at the bar. Her face shifted from panic to calculation in seconds. I stood, adjusted my tie, and walked towards them with measured strides. No rush, no anger, taking control of the situation. Jason, she gasped, instantly slipping into victim mode. This isn't enough, I cut her off. My voice was low and even. The documents you stole from my office, where are they? Derek stepped forward, attempting intimidation. Look, buddy, we should talk about this privately. I stared at him with the kind of gaze that made hardened men back down in combat zones. The only reason you're still standing is because we're in public. Step aside. He blinked first. The documents, Brooke, I repeated. In the safe in my hotel room, she whispered, deflating. Jason, please, if you'd just let me explain. Your father needs those documents by morning, I said, and I need my $27,000 back. The transfers to this Mr. Caldwell here were unauthorized. Derek's face paled. Transfers? Brooke, you said that money was from your trust fund. Her facade crumbled completely. I was there to return them after you made your deal with my father's rivals. That's enough. I stopped her with a raised hand. Your father already knows. The question is, do you want to tell him yourself, or does he hear it from me at our meeting tomorrow? You wouldn't dare, she hissed, her true colors showing. I smiled coldly. Try me. I turned to leave, but Derek grabbed my shoulder. Big mistake. In one fluid motion, I twisted his arm behind his back and slammed him against the wall, applying just enough pressure for him to gasp. The money, the documents, by noon tomorrow, I whispered in his ear. Or your corporate espionage becomes a police matter. I released him and walked out without looking back, an emptiness in my pocket where the ring had just been. I slept at a hotel on the other side of the city, waking before dawn to call Walter Winters. I know where your documents are, I said when he answered, and I know who took them. A heavy silence. My office, 8 a.m. Chapter 2, A New Game. The Winters building dominated the city skyline, 52 stories of glass and steel. Walter's office occupied the top floor, with a view that reminded everyone who entered how high he stood above them. He was waiting when I arrived, looking older than his 60 years. You don't seem surprised, he remarked as I sat opposite him. I stopped being surprised when I saw the bank transfers, I replied. Walter nodded grimly. How much? 27,000. He opened his desk drawer and pulled out a checkbook. I'll cover it. I shook my head. It's not about the money. Then what do you want? The truth, I said. How long have you known about Brooke and Caldwell, about the corporate espionage? Walter's expression hardened. 3 weeks. My security team flagged unusual meetings between Brooke and representatives from Archer Capital, our primary competitor. When we traced Caldwell, we found he was selling them proprietary information. And you didn't warn me. I needed to know if you were involved, he admitted. I leaned forward. And now? Now I need your help, Walter said, his voice strained. Those documents aren't just takeover plans. They contain evidence of financial irregularities at Archer Capital, evidence the SEC would be very interested in if Caldwell delivers them. A knock interrupted us. Walter's assistant entered. Sir, your daughter is here. Walter's eyes met mine. Ready to finish this? I nodded. It's already finished for me. Brooke walked in, still in yesterday's clothes, her face a perfect mask of remorse that didn't reach her eyes. Daddy, she began, I can explain everything. Walter held up a hand, silencing her. Jason knows everything, and so do I. Her eyes widened as she realized we'd spoken, then narrowed as she weighed her next move. The documents and the money, I said softly. Brooke's gaze darted between her father and me, her calculated composure finally cracking. The documents, Walter demanded, his voice like granite. They're in my purse, she confessed, pulling out an envelope. But Daddy, you have to understand. Derek said it was just business information, nothing illegal. Walter took the envelope, not acknowledging her excuses. He examined the contents, ensuring everything was accounted for, then looked at me. And the money? I asked. I don't have it, Brooke snapped, desperation seeping into her voice. Derek invested it. Into what? I interrupted. She turned away. His gambling debts. The details clicked into place. This wasn't just corporate espionage. Caldwell was desperate. A desperate man taking advantage of a spoiled woman who thought she could buy love. Walter made a phone call. Security to my office and call the police. He hung up and turned to his daughter. The Westlake documents could have destroyed this company, my life's work. I didn't know, she protested weakly. Yes, you did, I said quietly. Just like you knew about the transfers from our joint account. Walter looked at me with something akin to respect. What are your plans now, Jason? Before I could answer, the door burst open. Derek Caldwell stormed in, his face contorted with rage. You lying bitch, he snarled at Brooke. You said your father would pay us off. I stepped between them, my stance ready for engagement. Close enough. Derek pulled something from his jacket, a gleaming letter opener he'd grabbed somewhere. An unserious weapon, but dangerous in desperate hands. Back off, I warned. You know what you promised me? Derek sneered, waving the makeshift weapon. Millions, and now I have to take the fall alone. He lunged, not at me, but at Brooke. I reacted instantly, deflecting his arm and using his momentum to pin him to the floor. The letter opener clattered away as I held him down, knee firm between his shoulder blades. "Security's on its way," I said calmly as he squirmed beneath me. "Save your energy for explaining corporate espionage charges." Walter stood protectively in front of his daughter, despite everything. "Are you all right?" he asked me as the security guards flooded in. I stood, adjusting my tie as Derek was led away. I've had worse Tuesdays. After the police took statements, Walter dismissed Brooke. She tried one last plea to me. "Jason, please, we can work this out," she whispered, touching my arm. I stepped back. "We already have." As the door closed behind her, Walter sank into his chair. "I owe you an apology, Jason, and my gratitude." "You owe me nothing," I replied. "Nevertheless," he said, opening a drawer, "the chief investment officer position just opened up. The board meets this afternoon." I raised an eyebrow. "Isn't that your son-in-law's position?" "Former," Walter corrected. "The job is yours, if you want it." Chapter 3. A New Dawn. I didn't accept Walter's offer immediately. I needed time to think, to process everything that had transpired. I took a week off, renting a cabin near Lake Tahoe where my brother Greg and I used to fish as teenagers. The mountains offered a clarity the city couldn't. On my third day there, hiking a ridge, my phone rang. An unknown number. "Jason Hartley," I answered, pausing to watch an eagle soar above the pine trees. "Mr. Hartley, this is Detective Ramirez from Financial Crimes. We've concluded our initial investigation into Derek Caldwell." "And?" I prompted. "We've recovered approximately $18,000 of your funds. The rest was lost to gambling debts." The money wasn't the point anymore, but I appreciated the update. "What about the corporate espionage charges?" "Mr. Caldwell is cooperating, hoping for leniency. He's implicated several parties within Archer Capital who were paying for Westlake information." After the call, I sat on a sun-warmed boulder weighing my options. The position Walter offered would mean working closely with a family shattered by betrayal. Complex, but a significant career leap. My phone rang again. Brooke. This time I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won out. "Hello, Brooke." "Jason," her voice was subdued. "I heard you're being offered my ex-husband's position." "Ex-husband?" This was news to me. "We've been separated for several months," she confessed. "The divorce will be final next week. It wasn't working even before Derek." I let the silence hang, unwilling to offer her absolution. "I know it doesn't change anything," she continued, "but I wanted you to know it wasn't about you. I was lost." "And now?" I asked, more out of curiosity than concern. "Therapy, community service. My father froze my trust fund until I prove I've changed." A bitter laugh. "There's a great view from the bottom of the pit of who you really are." "I wish you the best, Brooke," I said genuinely despite everything. "But we're over." "I know," she said quietly. "Take the job, Jason. You deserve it." After we hung up, I sat, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold. My brother texted, "Decided yet, bro?" I thought about Walter's offer, about starting over in the same company where everything had fallen apart, about encountering Brooke at corporate events, about navigating the complex politics that would come with the position. Then I considered the other offers that had poured in since the scandal broke. Firms eager to capitalize on someone who had demonstrated integrity under pressure. I called Walter the next morning. "I've made my decision," I told him. "I'm declining your offer, Walter," I said as the morning light streamed into his office windows. "But I appreciate your trust." Walter Winters leaned back in his leather chair, raising an eyebrow. "May I ask why? It's a significant position with significant influence." "Precisely," I replied, holding his steady gaze. "I'd be walking into a minefield of office intrigue. After everything that's happened, your board members would question my every move, wondering if I earned the position or if it was some form of guilt compensation." Walter nodded slowly. "You've thought this through well. So, what's next for Jason Hartley?" I slid a business card across his desk. "Hartley Financial Advisors, my own firm." I'd secured seed funding from 3 investors who valued integrity above quarterly returns. He picked up the card, studying it with a hint of respect. Bold move, starting from scratch in this market. Sometimes you have to build from the ground up, I said, just like trust. Walter stood and extended his hand. Well, you've certainly earned my respect. And while you won't be joining us directly, I'd like Winters Enterprises to be your first corporate client. We shook hands firmly, 2 men who understood each other despite everything. As I exited the building for the last time, my phone rang. Greg was calling. So, how did the old man take your resignation? My brother said when I answered. Better than expected, I replied. Stepping into the bright spring sunshine, he signed on as my first major client. Greg's whistle was appreciative. Leveraging that guilt, huh? Smart business. It's not about guilt, I corrected. It's about recognizing value. Walter knows I'd never compromise my principles. That's worth something in this industry. Speaking of Winters women, Greg said, his tone shifting, Brooke was asking about you. Called me, if you can believe it. At the mention of her name, I felt nothing. No anger, no longing, just a void. What did she want? She claims she's changed. Therapy, volunteering, the whole redemption tour. Good for her, I said genuinely. Everyone deserves a second chance, just not with me. That's exactly what I told her, Greg affirmed. Listen, I've got news too. That security consulting firm finally made me an offer. Partner from day one. I smiled genuinely for the first time in weeks. It's about time they recognized your value. We should celebrate. I'm already 1 step ahead of you, Greg chuckled. Dinner at Sullivan's tonight. I invited Haley Winters too. I nearly stumbled. Brooke's sister, why would you do that? Because she was instrumental in helping build your case against Caldwell, Greg cut in. And because, unlike her sister, she's got integrity. And because she asked about you specifically. Greg, I warned, I'm not looking for just dinner, he said innocently. Between professionals, no pressure. Chapter 4. An Unexpected Connection. That evening at Sullivan's Steakhouse, I arrived early out of habit. The maitre d' led me to a secluded table in the back. Greg wasn't there yet, typical of my perpetually late brother, but Haley was. She looked elegant in a simple black dress, her blonde hair swept up, a striking contrast to Brooke's perpetually loose dark curls. She rose as she saw me, her handshake firm. I was beginning to think you might have stood me up, she said with a faint smile. I thought my brother would be here, I answered truthfully. Haley chuckled softly. Greg texted me 20 minutes ago, claimed an urgent client situation. Of course he did. Sorry for the deception. I can leave if you're uncomfortable. She gestured to the chair opposite hers. Unless you're afraid to have dinner with me. The challenge in her voice ignited something I hadn't felt in months. Genuine interest. I'd expected awkwardness dining with Haley, given everything that had transpired with her sister. Instead, I found a refreshing directness. Let's address the elephant in the room, she said after we'd ordered. My sister betrayed you in every conceivable way. I don't blame you if you want nothing to do with our family. I took a sip of water, weighing my response. You're not your sister. No, she agreed. I'm not. I've spent my entire life being compared to Brooke, the perfect daughter. Ironic how things turned out. You helped build the case against Caldwell, I observed. That couldn't have been easy, testifying against your sister's lover. Haley's expression hardened. He was dangerous, not just to the company, but to Brooke herself. She was so caught up she couldn't see he was using her. Our steaks arrived, providing a brief lull in conversation. When the waiter left, I decided to be completely honest. I appreciate what you did, but I need to be perfectly clear. I'm not interested in reconnecting with your family. The wounds are still fresh. Haley cut into her steak with precision. That's fair. But for the record, I didn't help with the case to curry favor with you. I did it because it was the right thing to do. We shifted to safer topics. Her work as an environmental lawyer, my plans for the new firm, shared interests in hiking and classic films. By dessert, I realized I was genuinely enjoying myself. You mentioned you're starting your own firm, Haley said as we shared a chocolate souffle. My firm represents several environmental tech startups looking for ethical investment partners. Perhaps we could discuss a professional collaboration. That sounds promising, I agreed. As we walked out of the restaurant, the spring evening was unexpectedly cool. Haley shivered slightly in her light dress. Without thinking, I slipped off my jacket and draped it over her shoulders. She looked up, surprised by the gesture. "Thank you, Jason," she said softly. "For dinner, for the jacket, and for not holding my last name against me. Thank you for reminding me that one person's actions don't define their entire family." I walked her to her car, maintaining a respectful distance. It wasn't a date, but it wasn't strictly a business dinner either. It existed in some undefined territory that felt unexpectedly comfortable. "I have your business card," she said, opening her car. "I'll have those startups reach out to you next week." "I look forward to it," I replied, handing her my new personal number. "For professional purposes, of course." She smiled, a genuine expression that reached her eyes. "Of course." Chapter 5: A New Beginning. 2 weeks later, my new downtown office space was beginning to take shape. The Winters Enterprises account had led to 3 new major clients, and Haley's environmental startups were exactly the kind of ethical ventures I wanted to represent. My phone vibrated with a text from Haley. "Opening firm celebration party still on for Friday?" I smiled, typing back, "Absolutely. Just a professional gathering." Her reply came swiftly. "Of course, just professionals celebrating a new beginning." And that's what it was, a new beginning, built on the solid foundation of hard-learned lessons. 6 months after launching Hartley Financial Advisors, my gamble was paying off. My downtown office now employed 8 people, we managed 15 major corporate accounts, and we had a waiting list of clients attracted by our reputation for ethical investment practices. On a Friday evening, the day of our 6-month anniversary, I stood surveying the assembled clients, employees, and supporters. Greg approached with a glass of champagne. "Who would have thought my kid brother would be Boston's rising financial star?" he teased, clinking his glass against mine. "Definitely not Brooke," I replied with a grin that held no bitterness. Time had transmuted the hurt into something surprisingly akin to gratitude. Without her betrayal, I might never have taken this leap. "Speaking of Winter's women," Greg nodded toward the entrance where Haley had just arrived. She was dressed in an elegant emerald dress that complimented her eyes, surveying the room until she spotted me. Our relationship had progressed cautiously over the past few months. Weekly business meetings had evolved into regular dinners, which had subtly deepened into something we still hadn't fully defined. Professional boundaries remained important to us both. "I should go greet our newest client," I told Greg, who theatrically rolled his eyes. "Still pretending it's just business, huh? Whatever helps you sleep at night, brother." I navigated through the crowd to Haley. She smiled warmly as I approached. "Congratulations, Jason," she said, accepting the champagne I offered. "The place is packed." 3 of the environmental startups you connected us with signed long-term contracts today," I informed her. "Your referrals account for 20% of our business." "Good investments are good investments," she shrugged. "I just pointed them in the right direction." We were interrupted by a hush at the entrance. Walter Winters had arrived, unexpectedly and unannounced. The room quieted as he strode toward us. "Jason," he greeted me with his usual firm handshake. "Impressive turnout." "Walter," I nodded. "I didn't know you were coming." His eyes shifted to Haley, something unsaid passing between father and daughter. "Haley mentioned your accomplishment. I thought I'd see this operation for myself." I had maintained a strictly professional relationship with Winters Enterprises since declining Walter's job offer, mostly communicating through intermediaries. His presence today was significant, and I prompted, curious despite myself. "And I'm impressed," he admitted. "You've built something substantial here, something honest." Coming from Walter Winters, that was high praise. "I have an offer," he continued. "Not employment. I know better now. a partnership between Hartley Financial and Winters Enterprises, equal terms, separate operations, shared resources. I glanced at Haley, whose slight nod confirmed she knew of the proposal. Why now? I asked Walter directly. Because you've proven you can build something from nothing, he answered honestly, and because my daughter speaks very highly of your integrity, both personal and professional. I considered the offer. Winter's resources would exponentially accelerate my firm's growth, but at what cost? I'd require full autonomy in investment decisions, I stated firmly. Walter nodded. I'd expect no less. And my name stays on the door, no corporate rebranding. Agreed? Walter extended his hand. Take the weekend to review the details. We can discuss your decision on Monday. Chapter 6. Choosing the Path. Monday morning was crisp and bright as I ran through Boston Common, Walter's partnership offers swirling in my mind. I'd spent the weekend analyzing every aspect, considering potential pitfalls and opportunities. After my run, I showered and dressed meticulously in my best suit. Today wasn't just about Winter's offer. I had a proposal of my own. I arrived at Hartley Financial early, reviewing quarterly reports until my intercom buzzed. Mr. Winters is here for your 9 a.m., my assistant announced. Walter strode into my office, looking every inch the corporate titan in his tailored suit. We exchanged pleasantries before getting down to business. Have you considered my offer? He asked, sitting opposite me. I have, I replied, sliding a contract across my desk with some revisions. Walter raised an eyebrow but studied the document intently. 51% ownership remains with you, perpetually non-transferable upon retirement or death without board approval. Interesting. Non-negotiable, I stated calmly. He continued reading. Ethical investment clause, environmental sustainability commitments, profit sharing with employees. He looked up. You drive a hard bargain, Jason. I learned from the best, I replied with a faint smile. Walter closed the folder. I accept your terms. We'll finalize the paperwork by the end of the week. We shook hands and I felt a sense of completion, not because I had Walter's approval, but because I had stayed true to my principles throughout the journey. As Walter was about to leave, he paused. One more thing. Haley mentioned you're having dinner with her tonight. I kept my expression neutral. That's correct. She also mentioned it's your 6-month anniversary. Walter's expression softened slightly. She seems happy. I am too, I admitted, acknowledging our relationship to her father for the first time. Walter nodded thoughtfully. You've rebuilt well, Jason, both professionally and personally. Few men could emerge stronger after what happened. After he left, I opened my desk drawer and looked at the small velvet box inside. Not an engagement ring, we weren't there yet, but a single emerald pendant that matched Haley's eyes, a symbol of something new, built on the hard lessons of the past. That evening, as Haley and I sat at our favorite restaurant overlooking the harbor, I reflected on the path that had led me here. A betrayal that had initially felt like an ending had, in fact, been the genesis of something genuine, a career built on integrity, a relationship founded on trust. You're quiet tonight, Haley observed, reaching across the table to touch my hand. Second thoughts about partnering with my father. I smiled, gently squeezing her hand. No second thoughts, just an appreciation for how life's worst moments sometimes lead to its best outcomes. To new beginnings, she offered, raising her glass. I touched my glass to hers, and to the wisdom to recognize them when they come. Ladies and gentlemen, since you've listened to the end of this story, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments which state you're watching from. Let's see what percentage of elite viewers make it to the end. And please kindly turn your attention to the screen after this message. There you'll find a full playlist of thrilling stories, a subscribe button for the channel, and our most captivating story. Click, enjoy, and thank you.